Access your free language gifts right now before they expire. Here's what you're getting this month. First, the Buying Electronics Conversation Cheat Sheet. With this new cheat sheet, you'll learn how to talk about electronics and what phrases to use at the store. Download it for free right now. Second, our printable visual flashcards. Want to speak more of the language? You'll need to learn more words. And with our new printable visual flashcards, you'll know over 1,500 words. Just download and print them out. Third, 30 must-know legal vocabulary. Learn how to say court, law, illegal, and much more with this quick 1-minute lesson. Fourth, how to talk about feeling excited. If you want to talk about your feelings, then this next lesson will teach you 13 words for excitement in just a few minutes. Fifth, must-know Mother's Day vocabulary. Can you say Mother's Day in your target language? You'll be able to with this quick 1-minute vocabulary lesson. Sixth, tired of apps that just teach you random words? With our innovative language learning app, you learn through conversations and start speaking in minutes because the audio and video lessons are just 3 to 15 minutes long. Learning is that easy. Download it for free for the Android, iPhone, and iPad. And finally, the deal of the month. If you want to finally master the language with lessons by real teachers and our complete language learning program, get up to 35% off with our Ready, Set, Speak sale. To get your gifts and language learning resources, click the link in the description below. Download them right now before they expire.
Hola, soy Brenda Romaniello, tu profesora de español. Hello, my name is Brenda Romaniello and I'm your Spanish teacher. Today we're going to have a look at 30 verbs, regular verbs in Spanish that are really useful. We're going to see how they work, so we're going to put them in a sentence to give you an example so that you know how to use them, and then we'll have it placed in a question. We're going to use tú so that you can use these questions in conversations. What does it mean, a regular verb in Spanish? Specifically, we're going to have a look at these verbs in the present tense of the indicative mood in Spanish, okay? And what it means is a regular verb means that it won't change the stem of the verb or the ending. If it's an irregular verb, sometimes it might change the beginning of the verb depending on who is performing the action. Sometimes the ending will change depending on who is performing the action. None of that happens when we're talking about regular verbs. Each regular verb will have a specific ending per person performing the action, but nothing else changes. They all basically behave the same way. And that is great news for your Spanish because that's easier for you to remember and to put them into practice in a conversation or when you speak Spanish. Let's start with 10 useful regular verbs in Spanish ending in R.
Número 1. Trabajar. Una pregunta que podemos usar en una conversación es ¿dónde trabajas? Vamos a ver posibles respuestas. Puedes decir trabajo en un banco, trabajo en una oficina, trabajo en marketing o trabajo en ventas. No trabajo, soy jubilado, o no trabajo, soy retirado, retirada. Soy ama de casa, soy estudiante. Muy bien. Verbo número 1, regular, trabajar. Número 2, estudiar. ¿Sí? Estudiar. Por ejemplo, pregunta en una conversación, ¿por qué estudias español? ¿Por qué estudias español? Respuestas posibles. Estudio español porque me gusta el idioma. Estudio español porque quiero viajar a España. Estudio español por trabajo. Estudio español porque mi amigo, mi amiga, mi novio, mi novia, mi esposo, mi esposa es de Colombia, Argentina, México, España, etcétera, etcétera. ¿Sí? Si tienes algún familiar o un novio o novia, esposo, esposa, puedes usar esta respuesta. Número 3. Hablar. Hablar. Por ejemplo, pregunta, ¿qué idiomas hablas? ¿Qué idiomas hablas? Respuestas posibles. Hablo inglés y español. Hablo español y un poco de francés. Hablo italiano, ruso y mandarín. Verbo número 4, limpiar. ¿Limpias tu casa? ¿Limpias tu casa? Vamos a ver posibles respuestas. Sí, limpio mi casa una vez por semana. No, tengo una señora que limpia. En mi casa todos limpiamos un poco. No me gusta limpiar. No me gusta limpiar. Verbo número 5, bailar. ¿Te gusta bailar? ¿Te gusta bailar? Respuestas. Bailo salsa. Bailo tango. Sí, me gusta bailar con mis amigos. No puedo bailar para nada. No puedo bailar para nada. Número 6. Ordenar. Pregunta, ¿qué quieres ordenar? ¿Qué quieres ordenar? Respuestas posibles. Quiero ordenar un café. Voy a ordenar una ensalada. Número 7. Buscar. Buscar. Pregunta en una conversación, ¿qué buscas? Respuestas, busco trabajo, busco mi bolso, busco mis llaves. Número 8. Manejar. Manejar. ¿Sabes manejar? Un sinónimo de manejar es conducir, otro verbo, ¿no? Que termina con ir. ¿Sabes manejar? ¿Sabes conducir? Respuestas posibles. Manejo mi coche todos los días. Manejo mi coche todos los días. No manejo mucho. Tomo el tren o tomo el autobús. No manejo. No puedo manejar. No tengo licencia, ¿verdad? Número 9. Pagar. Pagar. ¿Dónde pago? ¿Dónde pago? Respuestas posibles. Puedes pagar en la caja. Pago con tarjeta de crédito. Pago con efectivo. Yo pago. Yo invito. ¿Sí? Si quieres agasajar a alguien, puedes decir yo pago. Yo invito. Número 10. Necesitar. Necesitar. ¿Qué necesitas? ¿Qué necesitas? Respuestas posibles. Necesito un baño, por favor. Necesito una habitación. Necesito aspirinas. Necesito un doctor.
Now let's have a look at 10 most useful regular verbs in Spanish ending in er.
Número 1, comer. Comer. Pregunta, ¿comes carne? Respuestas posibles, no. No como carne. Soy vegetariano. Soy vegetariana. Sí, como carne. Como de todo. Como de todo. Número 2, correr. Correr. Pregunta, ¿te gusta correr? Respuestas posibles, corro todas las mañanas. No me gusta correr. Voy al gimnasio. Número 3, leer. Leer. Pregunta, ¿lees libros o el periódico? Respuestas posibles, leo biografías, leo ficción, leo el periódico todos los días. No me gusta leer. No me gusta leer. Número 4, vender. Una pregunta, ¿qué vendes? ¿Qué vendes? Respuestas posibles, vendo productos en línea. Vendo seguros. Vendo bicicletas. Vendo ropa. Vendo productos de belleza, etc. Número 5, beber. Beber. ¿Bebes café? ¿Bebes café? Respuestas posibles, sí, bebo café. No, no bebo café, bebo té. Bebo café, té, agua, bebo zumo o bebo jugo de frutas. Número 6. Aprender. aprender. ¿Cómo te gusta aprender? ¿Cómo te gusta aprender? Aprendo con imágenes o aprendo escribiendo y repitiendo mucho. Número 7, comprender. ¿Comprendes lo que digo? ¿Comprendes lo que digo? Respuestas posibles. Comprendo perfectamente. No comprendo muy bien. ¿Puedes hablar más despacio? Comprendo lo que quieres decir. Puedes usar esta pregunta y estas respuestas cuando estás en una conversación. ¿Comprendes lo que digo? Sí, comprendo perfectamente. Comprendo lo que quieres decir. Número 8, creer. Creer. ¿Qué crees? ¿Qué crees? Creer tiene dos significados, ¿no? To believe or to think. So you have the two meanings there. Respuestas posibles. Creo que tienes razón. Creo que tienes razón. No te lo creo. No te lo creo. No creo poder ir. No creo poder ir. Número 9, prometer. Prometer. ¿Prometes venir a la fiesta? ¿Prometes venir a la fiesta? Respuestas posibles. Te lo prometo. Te lo prometo. Prometo llegar temprano. Prometo llegar temprano. No prometo nada. No te prometo nada. Dos opciones. No prometo nada. No te prometo nada. Número 10. El último verbo con deber. Deber tiene dos significados. Must or to owe. Sí, must como you have to do something y to owe, ¿no? Algo a alguien, ¿no? When you owe something to somebody. Pregunta, ¿qué debes hacer hoy? ¿Sí? ¿Qué debes hacer hoy? Aquí el significado es must. What do you have to do today? ¿Verdad? Respuestas posibles. Debo ir al supermercado. Una obligación. Debo ir al supermercado. Debo visitar a Juan. Debo visitar a Juan. Debo dinero, así que voy a pagar las cuentas. Aquí puedes ver el significado to owe. Debo dinero, así que voy a pagar las cuentas. I owe money, so I'm going to pay my bills.
Finally, let's have a look at the 10 most useful regular verbs ending in -ir in Spanish.
Número 1, vivir. Vivir. ¿Dónde vives? ¿Dónde vives? Vivo en Buenos Aires. Vivo en Buenos Aires. Número 2, escribir. ¿Qué escribes? ¿Qué escribes? Pregunta, esa es la pregunta. ¿Qué escribes? Respuestas. Escribo una carta, escribo un libro, escribo una novela, escribo un poema. Escribo una lista para hacer las compras. Número 3, abrir. ¿Cuándo abres los regalos? ¿Cuándo abres los regalos? Respuestas. Los abro al final de la fiesta. Hace calor. ¿Abro la ventana o la puerta? Número 4. Decidir. Decidir. ¿Qué decides hacer? ¿Qué decides hacer? Respuestas. Decido ir a la fiesta si tú vas también. He decidido ir a la fiesta. He decidido ir a la fiesta. Aquí lo usamos más con el presente, ¿no? Con el pretérito perfecto compuesto de present perfect. Es más común con este verbo que el presente del indicativo. So it's more common to use it with the present perfect, in this particular case, this verb, than in the present tense, but it's a very, very useful verb. Número 5, recibir. ¿Qué te gusta recibir? ¿Qué te gusta recibir? Respuestas posibles. Siempre recibo cartas de amor de mi novio. Recibo regalos para mi cumpleaños. No me gusta recibir regalos materiales. No me gusta recibir regalos materiales. Número 6, discutir. Discutir tiene dos significados. Puede significar to argue o to discuss, ¿verdad? Por ejemplo, pregunta, ¿qué quieres discutir? ¿Qué quieres discutir? Quiero discutir algunas ideas. ¿Sí? Quiero discutir algunas ideas. Discutimos la situación. Discutimos la situación. Número 7, compartir. Compartir. ¿Quieres compartir? Respuestas posibles. Podemos compartir el postre. ¿Sí? En un restaurante, por ejemplo, podemos compartir el postre. No comparto mis problemas. No comparto mis problemas. Comparto tu opinión. Comparto tu opinión. Número 8, asumir. Asumir. ¿Eres de asumir? ¿Eres de asumir? Respuestas posibles. Nunca asumo nada. Nunca asumo nada. Espero que la gente me diga. Espero que la gente me diga. Asumo que no quieres ir a la fiesta, ¿verdad? Asumo que no quieres ir a la fiesta, ¿verdad? Número 9, imprimir. ¿Dónde imprimes tus fotos? Respuestas posibles. Las imprimo en casa. Imprimo las fotos en una tienda en el centro. No imprimo mis fotos. Y número 10, cumplir. ¿Cuándo cumples años? Pregunta. ¿Cuándo cumples años? Respuestas. Cumplo años o mi cumpleaños es el 13 de febrero. Aquí tenemos dos opciones, son sinónimos. Cumplo años el 13 de febrero o mi cumpleaños es el 13 de febrero. Hoy cumplo 60 años. Hoy cumplo 60 años. Ese es el significado de cumplir cuando queremos decir to turn of age, ¿no? So cumplir significa it means to turn of a specific age and it also means to comply, ¿verdad? To comply. Por ejemplo, no cumplo mis promesas. No cumplo mis promesas. O siempre cumplo con mi trabajo. Siempre cumplo con la ley.
That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next class. Adiós, hasta luego. Hola, soy Brenda Romaniello, tu profesora de español. Hi, my name is Brenda Romaniello and I'm your Spanish teacher. Today we're going to have a look at a cultural tip. We're going to learn about Latin American houses, what they are like, what's the main description or characteristic of houses in Latin America. First, we're going to do a listening comprehension exercise. So I'm going to explain how the houses are in Latin America in Spanish, see how much you can understand, and then we'll have a look at what all this means in English. Por lo general, las casas en Latinoamérica están construidas, son de ladrillo, ¿sí? De ladrillo o también de cemento. Las pintamos de diferentes colores, pero por lo general siempre son pintadas de color blanco. La mayoría de las casas en Latinoamérica son de una sola planta, un solo nivel, es decir, que tienen un solo piso. Cuando hablamos de estructura, por lo general tenemos 2 o 3 habitaciones como máximo y un baño. Las casas están divididas por una pared con los vecinos. Si tú tienes una casa y tienes vecinos a los costados, las casas son separadas por una pared de ladrillo o de concreto y no hay espacio entre casa y casa. Las casas están una al lado de la otra. Otra característica de las casas en Latinoamérica es que las aberturas como las ventanas, las puertas y también la entrada de la casa tiene rejas y está completamente cerrada. Esto lo hacemos por una cuestión de seguridad. Las casas latinoamericanas también tienen patio y por lo general el patio puede ser grande o pequeño. No es común tener piscina en casa, pero la mayoría tiene alguna forma de piscina. Por ejemplo, esas piscinas que se pueden armar y son de plástico, bueno, las armamos en el verano y desarmamos para guardarlas en el invierno. Yo soy de Argentina y en las casas y los patios de las casas argentinas también construimos con ladrillos o cementos un asador. El asador está construido de material y está disponible todo el año para cocinar asados. Por último, las casas latinoamericanas tienen un porche o una entrada. Y esta entrada siempre tiene un techo pequeño y las familias por la tarde, cuando baja el sol, es muy común sentarse en el porche o en la entrada de la casa porque está refrescando, especialmente en verano, y disfrutamos de la tarde, de hablar con los vecinos y con los familiares también. Were you able to understand? I hope so. Well, just let's see what the characteristics are for Spanish or Latin American houses. Usually they are made of brick or cement. No, they're hard. They're not made of wood as traditionally maybe some other houses. Generally speaking, it's only one level. Yes, most houses they only have one level, and you probably only have up to 3 bedrooms tops, and usually you only have 1 bathroom in the house. The houses are right next to each other, so they're separated by a wall that is also made of brick. And yes, there is no space between the houses. You have your neighbors right next to you. All the openings in the houses, like the windows and the doors and the entrance of the house, will have bars, usually covering the entire window or the entire door, and we do this for security reasons. In terms of the backyard, it depends. Some people have bigger or smaller backyards, but it's not as common to have pools, like built-in pools, but we do usually have those plastic ones that you put together in summer and then we pull it apart and then put it away during the winter. In Argentina, where I'm from, it's also very common in the backyard to have what we call un asador, which is like a barbecue, but instead of having those rolling ones, barbecues, this is built in with bricks and everything. So we have something specific to do barbecues all year round. And the last thing is the porch or the entrance to the house. Usually we have a little roof, and it's very common for Latin American countries to go and sit there, especially in the summer or warmer months of the year. You sit outside with your family, you chat to your neighbors, and also enjoy the fresh air of the afternoon and chatting to your family. Muy bien, eso es todo por hoy. Muchísimas gracias por ver esta clase y nos vemos en la próxima. Adiós, hasta luego.
Hello there, my beautiful, beautiful family of SpanishBall101.com. As you might know, my name is Diego.
And I'm Efraín.
Hey, Efra, do you know what the word ganas is?
No, not actually.
No?
And I use it all the time.
Yeah, well, we have basically 3 meanings. Ganar means to win.
Okay.
Like yo gano siempre que juego ajedrez,
Uh-huh.
for example. Or ganar is also to earn.
To earn, como yo gano $10 por hora.
Oh, wow.
Yo gano $10 por hora.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that, but yeah.
Okay. And also we have ganas.
Uh-huh.
And ganas could be roughly translated as desire.
Mhm.
But in this video, we're going to uncover much more ways to use this word.
Uh-huh.
So hopefully, guys, you will be interested and enjoy this video. Woo! Okay, guys, so the first thing that we're going to check here is the most common use of ganas, and that's tener ganas de. The verb tener, then ganas, then de. And this basically means to want,
Uh-huh.
to feel like,
Okay.
or even to crave.
Oh.
This can be used with another verb usually, okay? Such as, for example, tengo ganas de ir al cine.
Claro.
I want to go to the movies. tengo ganas de ir al cine. But sometimes you can also use it with nouns. Tengo ganas de una pizza. Because the verb is understood. Like, tengo ganas de comer una pizza, tengo ganas de una pizza. Yeah, or have you heard the song, Hoy tengo ganas de ti?
Yeah, it's very, very, very famous.
Yeah, so that's tener ganas de.
Tener ganas de. Okay, but also you can add unas before ganas to say that you really feel like doing something or you really crave something, okay? For example, tengo unas ganas de besarte. Tengo unas ganas de besarte.
Wow, stop there, Romeo.
Stop it.
Stop there.
But also with a noun. Tengo unas ganas de unos tacos. Tengo unas ganas de unos tacos. Okay. A synonym of tener ganas de is sentir ganas de. Okay, the verb sentir, los ganas, and de. Sentir ganas de. So, a quick note here. It's not very common to use sentir ganas de with a noun. So, usually we use it with verbs. For example, a very common one. Siento ganas de llorar. Siento ganas de llorar.
Very good.
Another one. Siento ganas de tirar todo y dejar de trabajar. Siento ganas de tirar todo y dejar de trabajar.
Tranquilo, viejo.
Yeah, so you said when you are
you're fed up of everything.
Of everything and you don't want to do anything else, okay? Sí. Okay, but we also have this expression. ¿Qué ganas tengo de? ¿Qué ganas tengo de? To describe how excited you are to do something.
For example, oye, ¿y qué vas a hacer este finde?
No tengo planes. ¿Y tú?
Pues mira, yo voy a ir al parque de diversiones Six Flags.
Muy bien. Hace mucho que no voy. ¿Qué ganas tengo de regresar?
Pues deberíamos de ir.
Sí, claro, vamos. Okay. But also another example is, ¿qué ganas tengo de tomar unas cervezas? ¿Qué ganas tengo de tomar unas cervezas?
We will do it later. Yeah.
Yeah. De hecho, sí.
De hecho, sí.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so another very common use of ganas is when you say me dan ganas de. However, this is slightly different because you can think of it as using at the end pero. Let me explain why. When you say me dan ganas de, this is a desire that you have, but for some reason you cannot do it at the moment that you are expressing that desire.
Exactly.
Okay? For example, you can say, ay, me dan un buen de ganas de ir al baño, pero, I cannot do it, pero no puedo ir porque estamos en medio de la misa.
Yeah.
Okay? Me dan un buen de ganas de ir al baño. So, notice how I put un buen de as an adverb. So you can add an adverb before ganas. So you can say, for example, me dan muchas ganas de, me dan un buen de ganas de.
Yeah,
for example.
So, for example, me dan muchas ganas de correr al baño. Ese no es ejemplo.
Ese no es. Oye, me dan ganas de salir de vacaciones, pero pues no puedo ahora porque tengo mucho trabajo. Okay, guys, so now take note. Now we can also use the verb antojar, but be careful how you use it. I will explain how to use it.
Okay.
So the verb antojar, usually you can use it with se, and then an indirect object. Okay, that is, se me antoja, se me antojan, se te antoja, se te antojan, and so on and so forth. And now this is very similar as tengo ganas de. However, se me antoja is just something, a desire that occurs to you. something that it's all of a sudden.
Okay.
Usually, but not always, you can use it with food. Okay? For example, you can say, se me antojan unas papas.
Yeah.
Se me antojan unas papas. O, hoy es viernes. Se me antoja ir al antro.
Se me antoja ir.
Se me antoja ir al antro. It's like, oh, I realize today is Friday, so why don't we go there? Se me antoja ir al antro.
I crave.
Yeah, I crave going to the antro, to the bar.
Okay, to the club.
To the club, rather, to the club.
Okay, so just take note, just keep in mind this. When you use antojar plus a noun, you have to use the articles unos, una, unos, and unas. Okay?
That's why se me antojan unas
Se me antojan unas
papas.
papas. Se me antojan unos refrescos.
Not only one?
No,
Like many?
Se me antoja un refresco
Se me
también.
antoja un elote.
Se me antoja un elote.
Se me antojan unos esquites.
Se me antojan unas gomitas de ositos.
De-
Gomitas de
No,
ositos.
sí. Se me antojan unos churros.
Se me antojan unos churros.
Se me antojan unas micheladas.
Se me antojan unos besos.
Stop there, Romeo.
Stop it. Okay, so you can use it with traer and tener. Okay, you can use antojar with traer and tener.
Well, the noun, right?
Por ejemplo, traigo antojo de unas papas. Traigo antojo de unas papas. Which is a synonym of tengo antojo de unas papas. Tengo antojo de unas papas.
Or even se me antojan unas papas.
Se me antojan unas papas.
So, many ways for saying this.
Sí, exacto.
Okay, guys, now let's finish this video with some slang with the word ganas.
Yeah.
And the first one is traerle ganas a alguien. And this basically means to feel attracted but rather sexually
Yeah,
to someone.
basically.
For example, le traigo ganas a Marta. Muchas.
She's hot. Está buena.
Es muy linda, es muy linda. Y tiene buenos sentimientos.
Le traigo ganas a Marta.
A
Okay.
Marta.
So, sexual attraction.
Normally it's like
Normally.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But however, you can also use the synonym for this, and that's querer con. Querer con. This is not specifically sexually with sexual intentions.
This time no.
It's just like to feel attracted to,
Ajá.
or to want to have to do something with.
Ajá.
Okay. So, yo quiero con Marta.
Quiero con Marta. Ajá. Muy bien.
Good.
Lucía quiere contigo.
Ah, sí, siempre.
Sí, siempre.
Siempre.
Lucía quiere contigo. Okay. So, traer ganas also means to have a conflict with someone. A conflict with someone. But in this case, context is king. And there is the big difference. For example, Pedro y Pablo se traen ganas. Pedro y Pablo se traen ganas.
That means they want to fight each other. Right?
Or they don't like each other at all and they have a big conflict.
They wanna fight.
They wanna fight. But as you can see, it's the same phrase. So be careful and use it with the correct context, okay? So it could either mean I feel attracted to someone, or I have a conflict, or I want to fight with this person, okay? Attracted, I have a fight. Okay, so context is king. Okay, the last one, and this is a phrase. Se me da la gana. Se me da la gana. Okay? Which basically means I do what I want. Se me da la gana. But also you can change the indirect object. Me, te. Se te da la gana. Se te da la gana. You do what you want.
Yeah.
Sí.
Or se le da la gana.
Se le da la gana.
Or se nos da la
Se
gana.
nos da la gana. Oye, ¿por qué Pablo vendió su casa?
Pues porque se le dio la gana.
Está
loco ese güey.
Se le dio la gana. He did what
He wanted. Because he's crazy.
I don't know. That's it for today, my beautiful family of SpanishPod101.com. We're very happy because you watch us and you learn with us, and thank you to all of you. Share this video with all the learners, and don't forget to give us your thumbs up, write your comments down there, subscribe to this beautiful channel, of course, and click on the notifications. Don't forget to get your free PDF cheat sheets in our site. Tons of new vocabulary available for you and for free. Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Ok, nos vemos en el siguiente video. Hasta luego.
¿Qué onda, mano? ¿Qué tienes?
No manches, es que mi depa se inundó y le llamé al cel del plomero y va a venir en 3 semanas.
Ah, no más, 3 semanas.
No puede venir antes. Entonces, ahora mismo estoy viviendo en la casa de mi abue.
Oh, rayos. Esos son muy malas noticias. Son muy malas noticias porque
Sí.
te quería invitar a una fiesta este finde y creo que no podrás.
Pero sí podré.
No, porque tu casa está inundada.
Espera un segundo. ¿La fiesta iba a ser en mi depa?
Pues sí,
Pero, ¿cuándo me dijiste?
ahorita, pero no vas a poder. Hello there, my beautiful, beautiful friends of SpanishPod101.com. As you might know, my name is Diego.
Ándame, Efraín.
And in today's video, we're going to check very common abbreviations in Spanish. Probably you have heard some of them, probably you already know, like the most common ones, but in this video, we're going to check a lot of new vocabulary for you. So if you're interested, guys, enjoy this video. Woo! Okay, guys, so in the previous skit, you heard some words that are actually short words from a longer word. For example, we said ca. We said no ma.
Depa.
Depa.
Finde.
Finde. Cel.
Did you say no ma?
No ma, yeah.
Abue.
Abue as well. So as you can see, we use several of them and maybe you know some. However, in this video, we're going to show you 3 different ways in which we can shorten a word. And of course, we will include some examples. So we ordered these alphabetically. So we start with the A and we end with the V, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start this list. Okay, guys, so the first category are the words that lose the ending of a word. So let's see the first ones.
Abue. But also abu. Which is the shortcut for abuelo or abuela.
Yeah.
Abue, abu. Y también tenemos arqui. Arqui.
De arquitecto.
Arquitecto. I was like, arquitecto. Okay, for example, el arquitecto González está en la obra 2 veces al año.
Muy bien.
El arquitecto González está en la obra 2 veces al año.
Muy bien.
Es decir, casi nunca va a la obra.
No, pues no, nunca. Ok, también tenemos, por ejemplo, la biblio. La biblio, que viene de biblioteca. También tenemos la bici, que viene de bicicleta. Por ejemplo, yo voy a la biblio en bici todos los domingos. Yo voy a la biblio en bici todos los domingos.
Muy bien. O todos los findes. We're going to talk about that one later. So the next set of words. Celu, cel. Para celular.
Yeah, both are
Celular.
correct. Celu and cel.
Cel, ajá, exacto. Pero también tenemos coreo. No es raro oírlo en la escuela. Coreo. La coreografía. Coreografía.
La coreo.
Ajá. Pero también tenemos una muy famosa. Cole. Cole. Con E. Con E. Cole. De colegio. Colegio.
Muy
¿ok?
bien.
También tenemos depa. Depa. Departamento. Departamento. Ok. Y, por ejemplo, en la escuela estamos ensayando nuestra nueva coreo. En la escuela estamos ensayando nuestra nueva coreo.
O en el cole, ¿no? También.
En el cole estamos enseñando nuestra nueva coreo.
Ya.
Bueno. Vamos.
Okay, guys. So the next one is stereo. Yeah, because stereo comes from stereofónico. However, stereo by itself nowadays is a standalone word. So you can just say stereo and everyone will understand.
Sí.
So stereo, but it comes originally from stereofónico.
Yeah.
And the second one is fin de. Actually, what the friend said. Fin de, and it comes from fin de semana.
Exacto.
Exacto. Por ejemplo, vamos a una fiesta del fin de, pero lleva tu estéreo.
El estéreo.
El estéreo.
Como en los viejos tiempos.
Como las películas viejas.
It was all a dream. Ok.
Ok, chicos, la siguiente es foto. Y por supuesto, foto viene de fotografía.
Ajá.
Ahora, es por esta razón que decimos la foto. Muchas personas se confunden porque es como, foto, pero termina en no es masculina la palabra.
Ajá.
Bueno, la verdad es que es femenina porque la palabra completa es fotografía. ¿No?
Entonces se queda el artículo.
Exacto,
La
el
foto.
artículo es la fotografía, la foto.
Lo mismo pasa con coreo. La coreo.
La coreo, ¿no?
Aunque termina con no, es con el artículo la.
Exacto, que es femenina la palabra. Bien,
Ajá.
otra palabra es hetero.
Ujú.
Hetero, y bueno, esto viene de heterosexual. También es muy común escucharla.
Sí.
Por ejemplo, oye, Fra, creo que me veo muy bien hoy. ¿Me tomas una foto?
Sí, seguro.
Sí.
También tengo mi cel.
Ok.
La foto. Ok. Bien. Ahora tenemos otras palabras. Y hay una muy conocida. La moto. La moto. Que viene de motocicleta. Motocicleta.
También es otro ejemplo, ¿no?
Ajá.
La moto.
La moto. Pero también tenemos la peli. La peli. Que viene de película. ¿Ok? También tenemos el micro. El micro. El microondas. Pero en México tenemos un medio de transporte muy famoso.
Y para eso lo llamamos la micro.
Con el artículo la.
La micro. Que es como un autobús pequeño. Es la micro.
La micro. Exacto. Y también tenemos la abreviación de una frase. Por si. Por si. Que viene de por si acaso. Por si acaso. ¿Bien? Por ejemplo, trae dinero al viaje. Por si. Trae dinero al viaje. Por si. Por si.
Por si.
Suena divertido. Sí.
Por si.
Sounds fun. Por si.
Ok, chicos. La siguiente también es muy común y es refri.
Muy bien.
El refri que viene de refrigerador.
Exacto.
Muy bien. También tenemos la tele.
¿La tele?
Este es otro caso, ¿no? La tele porque viene de televisión.
Ajá.
La tele.
Muy bien.
Por ejemplo, no olvides meter tus alimentos en el refri.
Buen consejo.
Ok, chicos, ahora vamos con una sección que creo que a todos nos gusta y es la sección de Mexican Words, las palabras mexicanas.
Sí.
Y en el skit dijimos dos que son muy mexicanas. La primera es noma. Noma, y esto viene de no manches.
No manches.
No manches, que si han visto otros videos ya saben lo que significa.
Ajá.
No manches, like, are you kidding me? No manches.
Really?
¿O really? Exacto. La segunda es K, que viene de cabrón, aunque no necesariamente cabrón es una mala palabra. Depende del contexto, como también lo hemos dicho en otros videos. Pero la versión corta es K.
Y cabrón, en este caso es dude.
Sí, exactamente.
Ajá.
Perfecto, claro que sí. Después también tenemos una que me encanta y es porfa. porfi
Mhm.
y porfis.
Yeah, porfis.
Porfa, porfi y porfis.
Mhm.
Y estas son 3 formas para decir por favor.
Exacto.
Ujú,
Porfa. Porfi.
exactamente.
Ah, bien.
¿Me pasas eso? Porfa acá.
Porfa acá.
Porfa acá.
Ok, muy bien. Pero también tenemos la siguiente palabra que es primins. Primins. O primis o primi, que viene de primero.
Ujú.
Primero. So keep this in mind. You will usually find these words, well, these shortcuts.
Ujú.
Uh,
The
when-
shortenings.
Shortenings. Sorry. So you will find these shortenings with children. Okay, these are words between children when they are playing games. I mean, I know them because I used to be a child.
Okay.
Okay,
Oh,
didn't
well,
know. Oh, well.
No,
Okay.
you were a child. I thought
We-
you were born like that.
Okay, we also have segunds. Segunds, which comes from segundo.
That's correct.
Segundo. Por ejemplo, vamos a jugar un juego, yo primins.
Pues yo segunds, entonces.
Yo segunds.
Yo segunds.
Ajá, exacto.
Muy
Ya.
bien, perfecto. Ahora también tenemos de relaciones personales
Ujú.
y esta puede ser, la primera me gusta mucho y es compa.
Compa.
Compa que viene de compadre y en México compadre también es una forma de llamarle a un mejor amigo, un amigo
Ya.
cercano. Él es mi compa, mi compadre, ¿no?
Close friend.
Exactamente. Otra también es llamarle a una persona, es muy común decirle a alguien peque,
Peque.
peque.
Bueno, decirle a un niño, ¿no?
Bueno, también si tienes una relación cercana con una
Ah.
persona, puedes decir peque, ¿no?
Peque, que viene de
De pequeño o pequeña, ¿no?
pequeño, pequeño.
Peque.
Ajá.
Good.
Por ejemplo, en la fiesta habrá un show de payasos para los peques. En la fiesta habrá un show de payasos para los peques.
Okay, guys. So now let's continue with the second category, and this is a short one because these are the words that lose the beginning of the word.
Ajá.
The beginning. So, for example, we have a classic, bus.
Bus.
Ya. Y viene de autobús, ¿no?
Ujú.
Como yo cuando era pequeño siempre me sentaba atrás en el bus.
Muy bien.
Ujú, exactamente.
Exacto.
Otra, well, do you have another one?
Sí, claro, sí, claro. Okay, so let's continue with the word teléfono. And the shortcut of that, phone. Shortcut. Shortening.
The shortening.
Shortening, sorry. Phone. Por ejemplo, dame tu phone. Dame tu phone. Want to sound like a native? Well, use this one. Dame tu phone.
O pásame.
O pásame tu phone.
Yeah.
Okay. We also have this Mexican word, muchacha. Muchacha, which means girl. But the shortening of this one is chacha, and it has a way different meaning. This is the cleaning lady. Chacha, cleaning lady. But this is just for you to know the word. We don't recommend you use that one because in some places it's considered offensive. Okay?
Yeah, sometimes.
So I recommend you just don't use it, but now you know it.
You know the meaning.
Uh-huh, you know the
Another
meaning.
one that is very common is the word telefonazo, and telefonazo stands for just a call.
Mhm.
So yeah, you can also say llamada, but telefonazo sounds more like Mexican, right?
Yeah.
And here we are also learning Mexican Spanish. So telefonazo, you can have the short version, and that's fonazo.
Fonazo.
And if you want to sound much more native, you or word advanced, you can say échame un fonazo.
Échame un fonazo. So
Échame un fonazo, like call me, just call
give me a call.
Yeah. Échame un fonazo cuando vengas a la ciudad.
Exacto. Muy bien.
Another very common one is hermano. And for hermano, the short version could be mano. So we have mano for hermano.
Exacto.
También puede ser como para un buen amigo, un amigo cercano.
Yeah.
Mi mano.
Exacto. We call each other like that all the time. Mano.
Yeah, mano. Or-
I mean between the 1 9. Okay, the last category. So there are some words that have the beginning and also the ending of them, but they don't have the middle part Yeah, that's crazy, right? But let me give you some examples and now you will know what I'm talking about. Okay, so the first one is debto. Debto. Debto.
Yeah.
Debto. Okay.
But we use it that much more in writing, right?
Much more in writing. And it means departamento. Departamento. But we also have Varna. Varna. Barcelona. Which comes from Barcelona. Barcelona. Oye, tío. Vale. Ahora vamos a pasar a la siguiente, que es Frisco. Frisco. Which stands for San Francisco. San Francisco. So, for example, vámonos pa San Francisco. I'm sorry, it was with this shortening. Once again. Vámonos pa Frisco.
There you have pa. Para. Yeah.
Ajá.
Pa.
That's the
Para.
short version of para.
Good. Ahora, esta última palabra de pa, quizás la has escuchado muchas veces en las canciones, porque especialmente en el reggaetón es una que se utiliza todo el tiempo. Pa.
Vamos pa la playa. No.
Pa olvidarme de ella.
Sí.
Pa olvidarme de ella. So, pa is just the short version of para. Right? So, let's continue. The next one we have is sado, and it comes from sadomasoquismo. So, sado. Pero también tenemos una que en lo personal a mí me gusta y es la profa. La profa. Well, I mean the word, right? It comes from profesora.
Do you like your teacher?
Yeah, oh, come on.
This one I like a lot.
This
Profa.
This word I like a lot. So la profa comes from profesora. Okay? La profa. And also this one that I also like a lot, the word is vacas.
Vacas.
That is vacaciones.
Yeah, we are not talking about cows.
Ya. Oiga, profa, ya no esté enojada, ya casi salimos de vacas.
De vacas, vámonos de vacas.
O vámonos de vacas a Acapulco. Ya. Pa Acapulco.
Pa Acapulco. Es todo por hoy, mis amigos y mi familia de SpanishPod101.com. Por favor, deja tu comentario allá abajo, danos tu pulgar arriba, share this video with other learners, subscribe to this channel, click on the notification. Okay, nos vemos muy pronto, and don't forget to get your free lifetime account at SpanishPod101.com, where you can get our free PDF cheat sheets. Learn vocabulary with us, increase it, just like this video, and see you in the next one. Hasta luego.
See you guys. Bueno, cuéntame de ti.
Me considero una persona proactiva.
¿Y por qué quieres trabajar en esta empresa?
Porque esta empresa trabaja con personas de todo el mundo.
¿Cómo te ves en 5 años?
Me veo liderando el área de este puesto de trabajo.
¿Por qué saliste de tu antigua empresa? Hello there, my beautiful friends of SpanishPod101.com. As you might know, my name is Diego.
And I'm Efrain.
And in today's video, we have a very interesting topic. We're going to help you with the most common job questions and also how to answer them.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are interested, guys, do this video. Woo! Okay, guys, so before going to the questions and how to answer them, we're going to give you just 4 tips. 4 tips para una entrevista de trabajo. El primer tip es sé puntual.
Exacto.
Punctuality super important, es muy importante la puntualidad. Entonces siempre que vayas a una entrevista de trabajo, sé puntual. Es decir, llega 5 minutos antes, nunca después de tu hora de entrevista, nunca. Número 2, siempre trata de cuidar tu imagen personal, ¿ok? Es decir, llega bien arreglado, bien peinado, bien vestido, trata de verte formal, cuida tu imagen personal, muy importante. Número 3, es bueno estar en un buen estado emocional, es decir, relajado, contento. Nunca llegues estresado o molesto por una situación. Si notas que estás con estas emociones, lo recomendable es pedir permiso para ir al baño y tratar de relajarte de alguna forma, ¿ok? Cuida tu estado emocional, es muy importante. Y finalmente, número 4, siempre muéstrate agradecido, sonríe, que se vean las ganas que tienes de trabajar en esa empresa. Entonces, estos son tips muy generales, por supuesto, pero pues es bueno escucharlos en español, ¿no? So, vamos a empezar con la entrevista. Bueno, cuéntame de ti. Ok, chicos, aquí un tip es no digas historias largas o hables de problemas personales. Más bien enfócate en decir tus características y también tus conocimientos. Para esto puedes decir algunas características personales como optimista, como diplomático, confiable. Claro que siempre puedes usar la estructura soy. Bueno, yo soy una persona confiable, yo soy una persona optimista, pero otra forma de decir esto es decir, me considero una persona, por ejemplo, me considero una persona diplomática, me considero una persona respetuosa. Ahora, también puedes usar pienso. Pienso que soy alguien responsable. Solamente un pequeño tip, cuando dices persona, los adjetivos tienen que estar en femenino porque persona es la persona. Entonces pienso que soy una persona diplomática. Pienso que soy alguien diplomático. Esa es la diferencia. Por otro lado, también puedes decir algunas habilidades. Por ejemplo, el manejo de paquetería Office, el diseño de páginas web o incluso un amplio conocimiento en marketing digital. Para esto puedes usar dos estructuras. La primera es, tengo conocimiento en, por ejemplo, tengo conocimiento en marketing digital o tengo conocimiento en la paquetería de Office, ¿ok? Pero también puedes usar sé más un verbo. Por ejemplo, sé diseñar páginas web, sé manejar la paquetería Office, por ejemplo. O una tercera alternativa puede ser cuento con. Por ejemplo, cuento con más un sustantivo. Cuento con conocimiento en marketing digital.
Me considero una persona proactiva. Además, soy una persona creativa y carismática. Pienso que soy alguien comprometido, confiable y optimista. Cuento con conocimiento amplio en marketing digital. Sé manejar la paquetería de Office, especialmente Excel.
¿Y por qué quieres trabajar en esta empresa? En esta pregunta, la verdadera pregunta es ¿qué sabes de nuestra empresa y por qué quieres trabajar en esta empresa? Entonces, la mejor forma es contestar por qué más tu razón, ¿ok? Porque yo sé que la empresa se dedica a la innovación tecnológica y a mí la tecnología me encanta, bla, 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 bla. Entonces, puedes responder la pregunta únicamente con un por qué más tu razón y qué sabes de la empresa.
Porque esta empresa trabaja con personas de todo el mundo. Además, he seguido muy de cerca su trayectoria y ha crecido bastante en los últimos años.
¿Cómo te ves en 5 años? Una buena forma para contestar esta pregunta es con el futuro de indicativo. Entonces aquí necesitas conocer la estructura del futuro. Por ejemplo, puedes decir, en 5 años seré el líder en este puesto de trabajo.
Me veo liderando el área de este puesto de trabajo. Quiero cumplir con las metas y los objetivos de esta empresa.
¿Por qué saliste de tu antigua empresa? En este caso, el tip es no hablar de aspectos personales o de problemas personales que tuviste en tu antigua empresa. Para esto puedes usar el imperfecto para hablar de cómo era tu empresa o qué hacías y también del pretérito indefinido. Pero también es importante poder que el entrevistador sepa qué es lo que quieres lograr en este momento, ¿ok? Para eso se usa la estructura querer más infinitivo. Bueno, pues yo alcancé las metas que tenía planteadas anteriormente y ahora quiero enfrentarme a nuevos retos, por ejemplo.
Alcancé mis objetivos en la anterior empresa. También mejoré mis habilidades, pero estoy en busca de nuevos retos.
Muy bien. ¿Y cuáles son tus puntos débiles? En este caso, una debilidad no necesariamente tiene que ser vista como una debilidad, pero sí como algo que te puede ayudar a crecer. Entonces tienes que enmascarar esta debilidad y saber que es un área de oportunidad para ti y que puede ser beneficiosa para la empresa. Para esto puedes utilizar algunas formas de contraste como sin embargo, pero, por otro lado. Soy alguien muy competitivo. Sin embargo, también sé trabajar en equipo cuando la ocasión lo amerita.
A veces soy muy competitivo y me gusta trabajar de manera individual. No obstante, cuando el puesto me lo pide, trabajo en equipo, sin lugar a dudas.
Choro. Ay, a ver, dime, ¿por qué deberíamos contratarte? En esta pregunta lo que realmente se pregunta es ¿qué obtiene la empresa al contratarte? Una buena forma de contestarlo es usar la perífrasis verbal llevar más gerundio. Por ejemplo, llevo 5 años especializándome en esta área y creo que podría ser un elemento muy importante para su empresa.
La oferta de trabajo se ajusta mucho a mi perfil laboral. Por otra parte, llevo más de 5 años especializándome en esta área y creo que puedo aportar grandes cosas. That's it for today, my beautiful family of SpanishPod101.com. Espero hayan disfrutado este video. Por favor, danos tu pulgar arriba, escribe tus comentarios, suscríbete a este canal y también da clic en las notificaciones.
Exacto.
Nos vemos en el siguiente episodio. Hasta luego. Diego, tengo un problema.
¿Qué problema?
Creo que voy a reprobar nuevamente la materia de literatura.
¿Qué? ¿Por segundo año consecutivo?
Es que de verdad creo que no le caigo bien a la maestra.
Mira, pues no tendrías tantos problemas en la escuela si te dedicaras a estudiar, Efraín.
Es que la escuela no es lo más importante. Además, esa maestra me tiene odio.
¿No será porque siempre estás hablando mal de ella a sus espaldas? O quizás es por esa vez que le arrojaste una naranja y le cayó en la cabeza.
Ella se cruzó en el camino. ¿Habría escuchado que hablé mal de ella?
Seguramente.
Además tengo otro problema. Creo que no le gustó tanto a Sandra,
Puros problemas contigo. Pues tendrá novio, me imagino.
No creo que sea eso. Quizá hablaría con sus papás y ellos tienen una mala opinión de mí.
Bueno, después de haber reprobado 2 años la escuela, yo creo que todos tendrían una mala opinión sobre ti.
Sí, pero soy un amor. No creo que sus papás opinen eso.
Le lanzaste la naranja a la maestra. ¿Cómo puedes decir que eres un amor?
Tal vez no está bien de la cabeza Sandra. Quizá lo reconsidere y vea que soy una buena opción. Definitivamente.
Hello there, my beautiful friends of SpanishPod101.com. As you might know, my name is Diego.
And I'm Efrain.
And in today's video, we're going to check how to formulate hypotheses in very easy ways. So, if you're interested, guys, enjoy this video.
Woo!
Okay guys, so now let's look at how to form hypotheses in Spanish. So normally a hypothesis could be seen as when you use in English would, could, or even should.
Yeah.
Remember that these help us to express the possibility, the probability, the wonder, or the conjecture of something, of an action. Okay?
Yeah.
So in Spanish we use what we call el condicional.
Sí.
So we first need to know how to conjugate the conditional. And the good news about the conditional is that it is conjugated the same in the 3 different endings, in AR, ER, and IR verbs.
Exactly.
And there's also a few lists of verbs that are irregular that we're going to check.
Exacto.
So the conditional, let's take for example the verb hablar. What you need to do is the endings, as I said, they are the same. So you would say yo hablaría, tú hablarías,
Exacto.
él hablaría, nosotros hablaríamos, ellos, ellas, ustedes hablarían.
Muy bien.
So let's look in this case only some examples of this conditional.
Let's check some examples for this. For example, yo hablaría más si Diego se callara un minuto. Yo hablaría más si Diego se callara un minuto. Otro ejemplo. En este momento me comería una hamburguesa entera. En este momento me comería una hamburguesa entera. Okay, so there are as Diego said, there are just not many verbs that are irregular. Okay, but all of them are pretty easy to memorize. Let me give you a list. Okay, so I'm going to give you the verb and the stem of the verb, okay, when it changes to conditional. But there is a very useful tip here. Diego?
Exactly, so
Diego, please.
So the verb basically takes the same stem that you use for the future. So the same stem that you use for the future is the same that you're going to use with the conditional and just adding the endings that I mentioned before. So remember, for example, you have tener, tender. That's the stem. So tendría, tendrías. Querer, quer.
Poner,
ponder.
ponder. Poder,
poder. Hacer,
¿cuál es?
ar.
Sí, es cierto. Ar. Bien. Y también tenemos otro más que es haber.
Abr.
Haber.
Okay, guys, now knowing the conditional is quite important because the conditional helps us guess what happened in the past.
Yeah.
For example, ¿dónde está mi mamá?
Creo que dijo que iría a la tienda a comprar unos aguacates. Creo que dijo que iría a la tienda a comprar unos aguacates.
Or the second one. No me llamó Adriana.
Supongo que estaría ocupada el día de ayer y hoy. No te preocupes. Supongo que estaría ocupada el día de ayer y hoy. No te preocupes.
Okay, now take a close look into this. If you want to make a hypothesis of something that is currently happening, for that you use the future tense. Yes, that's correct. The future tense.
For the present.
For example,
bien. Por ejemplo, Juan no se despidió. Tendrá prisa. Juan no se despidió. Tendrá prisa. Or the second one.
¿Dónde está Sara?
Estará trabajando en este momento. Estará trabajando en este momento.
Okay, guys, now notice how we use the temporal marker en este momento, which is kind of ahora or ahorita, right? So we can combine this with the future as long as you know that that's a hypothesis in the present. That's why you can say estará ocupada en este momento o estará ocupada ahorita.
Estará ocupada ahorita.
Yeah.
O ahora mismo.
Now, let's look at something that is even stranger.
Oh.
Because if you want to do a hypothesis in the past, you need to use the future, the compound future, el futuro compuesto. Y este futuro compuesto se forma con el futuro de haber más un participio. And the future tense is conjugated as follows. Habré, habrás, habrá, habremos, and habrán, plus el participio. Habré ido.
Okay.
Habrá ido. Habremos ido, and so on and so forth.
Okay. Muy bien.
So let's look at some examples.
Por ejemplo, Selene está llorando. Habrá perdido el vuelo otra vez.
Otra vez.
Selene está llorando. Habrá perdido el vuelo otra vez.
Muy distraída.
Muy distraída. Ok, otro ejemplo. Ana me dijo que está enferma. Supongo habrá ido al doctor en la mañana. Ana me dijo que está enferma. Supongo habrá ido al doctor en la mañana.
Muy bien, perfecto. Now, let's look at some really useful words that will help you make hypotheses. We have 3.
Yeah.
So, those words are quizás,
Or quizá.
o quizá,
Ujú.
tal vez,
Ujú.
and a lo mejor.
Exacto.
Mhm.
Ajá.
So how do we use them? So quizás and tal vezes are entirely interchangeable. Mhm. And you can use them with infinitive or with some subjunctive.
Ujú.
Okay guys, now let's look at some examples with quizás.
Ajá. Ok, el primero. Quizá la vida es más difícil de lo que pensé. Quizá la vida es más difícil de lo que pensé. But also, quizás el hombre llegue a Marte en 10 años. Quizás el hombre llegue a Marte en 10 años. Ujú. Okay, let's proceed with tal vez.
Mhm.
Tal vez. Ujú. First example. Tal vez no le gustas tanto. Tal vez no le gustas tanto.
Oh, I like that movie.
Ah, sí, sí, sí.
Yeah, tal vez no le gustas tanto.
Tal vez a él no le gustas
Tal vez a él no le gustas tanto,
Yeah, I
¿no?
think that is the movie.
Okay.
Or, for example, aunque ya es tarde, tal vez lleguemos a tiempo para la boda. Aunque ya es tarde, tal vez lleguemos a tiempo para la boda.
Very good, very good. The last one is a lo mejor. And a lo mejor can only be used with indicative.
Okay.
And exclusively at the beginning of the sentence.
Mhm.
For example,
Ok, for example, Luis se compró un nuevo carro. A lo mejor se ganó la lotería.
yeah.
Él se compró un carro, a lo mejor se ganó la lotería. Otro ejemplo, Ana anda con un señor de 40 años. A lo mejor le gustan mayores. Ana anda con un señor de 40 años. A lo mejor le gustan mayores. Who knows? Es todo por hoy, mis amigos de SpanishPod101.com. Estamos muy felices de estar aquí. Por favor, danos tu pulgar arriba. Comparte este video con otros alumnos de español, con alguien más que esté aprendiendo español. Y por supuesto, suscríbete a este canal. Da clic en las notificaciones. Y por supuesto, tenemos PDFs. Cheat sheets, PDF, gratis para ti en nuestra página en SpanishPod101.com. The link is down there. Improve your vocabulary set with us. See you en el siguiente.
Nos vemos, chicos.
Bye.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? My name is Romina and I'm your Spanish teacher for today's lesson. En la clase de hoy vamos a estudiar las categorías gramaticales en español. This lesson is meant to be a very quick and short explanation about grammatical categories. So we are going to go through what's a grammatical category, how many do we have in Spanish, and a very quick explanation of each one of these categories. We do have subcategories, so each one of these categories can be classified at the same time in more categories. And the thing obviously is that these categories can go on forever, and this video will be way too long. So this is just a very short introduction. So let's start. What is a grammatical category? It's basically a classification of words, okay? So every single word existing in Spanish is classified according to their meaning or their role, their function in a sentence, okay? So traditionally speaking in Spanish, we have 9 categories. And this is a very hot potato topic because obviously there are many theories out there and there are lots of different classifications, okay? But in this video, we're just going to focus on the traditional ones because I'm sure you're going to listen, you're going to hear these names, and when you get to learn more Spanish, and if you're interested in grammar, you can learn about new ways of classifying the words in Spanish. But I think this is a good start. It might not be the best or the most accurate, but I think it's a good introduction. So as I said before, we have 9 kinds of words in Spanish, right? So we have sustantivos, nouns, adjetivo, adjectives, artículo, article, pronombre, pronouns, verbo, verbs, adverbio, adverbs, preposición, preposition, conjunción. I think these are called conjunctions, like connecting words, nexus. Interjections, interjección, okay? And that's the last one, interjección. So all words in Spanish are classified between these 9 words, 9 categories. So let's start with some examples of sustantivos. On screen we have casa, Bogotá, belleza, países, gato. So as you can see, nouns are words that describe a large spectrum of things, right? Because pretty much they describe everything. Usually we would say in Spanish that they describe things that have life or no life. They're inert, right? So, you know, it can be pretty much anything. A thing, a person, an animal, an idea, okay, something abstract like an idea, a feeling, okay, those are nouns, those are sustantivos. So the interesting thing about nouns is that these are words that are variable, okay, they change, and they change depending on their number and gender. Obviously, not all nouns change. We definitely have exceptions, but usually nouns are words that change, okay? You can see, for example, here, casa. Casa is female and singular. So, as I said before, the classification of nouns, because there are so many of them, the classification can be very extensive. Like you can classify them between concrete, like they actually exist, or they're abstract, or they're general, like they're referring to a whole species or to one particular thing, like someone's name or a city's name or something like that. So obviously the classification is very big because nouns are just very broad. Okay, so we continue with adjetivos. Here we have some examples of adjetivos. Gato mimoso, casa grande, mi hermano, estos libros. So mimoso, grande, mi, estos are adjetivos. And you can recognize them because they go alongside with the nouns, okay? They modify the noun. They tell us something else. They give us extra information about that noun. Like in this example, right? The first example, gato mimoso. Gato is the noun, and I'm getting more information about the cat. Like he's very friendly, he's very cute, he's very sweet, right? He's very cuddly, he's mimoso. So that's what adjectives do. They give us extra information. And you can see as well that these are words that they also change. They vary depending on the gender and the number. And they're usually matching that noun that they are describing. So now we are going with artículos. We are going to talk about artículos. So artículos are a very short set of words, actually, that we have in Spanish. And they also go alongside with the noun, before the noun. You know, in the case of adjectives, you can put them before or after. And in the case of the article, they go before, and they provide us also information about the noun, not as much as the adjective, but they give us some little bit of extra subtle information, like for example, the gender, the number, or if it's something that we've been talking about and it's noun in the conversation, or if it's something that that is indeterminate, like I don't know much about it. Like here we have examples. El avión, the plane. So the, that's the article, okay? Avión is the noun. And it's, as I was saying, it's not the same. They do provide some information, right? It's not the same saying el avión as saying un avión, the plane versus a plane, right? There is a difference between those two. One is being specific. We've been talking about the plane. What a plane is like any plane. So they also provide some information. So on screen we have el avión, una mascota, unos niños, las mujeres, lo bueno. So all of these words highlighted in black are bold, actually, sorry, are articles, no? El, una, unos, las, lo, etc. So pronombres, pronouns. Pronouns are words that actually replace the nouns, okay? And the idea is to replace them so you don't repeat them and you're just referring back to that. You're referring to those nouns that you mentioned early, and you just don't want to repeat the name over and over again. So here we have some examples. Él es alto. Estas eran nuevas. Me gustan las uvas. No lo vi. So, él, estas, me, y lo, these are all pronouns, right? And you can see they're replacing something else. So, él, I'm talking about something or someone that is male, and then it's tall, right? So I'm saying he is tall. So he can be a person, Carlos, Juan, whomever that we are talking about. And the pronoun is just replacing that. So pronouns are also words that vary, okay, depending on the gender and the number and the function that they are doing in the sentence, right? It's not the same thing having a pronoun for direct object or indirect object. Okay, so the function also changes its shape. Okay, so now we have verbos, verbs. So the verb is the most important word in a sentence in Spanish. Even if it's hidden, it has a central role, like everything turns around it. And verbs are words that change a lot. In comparison with the rest of the grammatical categories, verbs are the ones that have the most changes, and that's why they have so much information. They tell you so I should tell you first that verbs are words that express an action or a state of being, right? And they provide you a lot of information about the action, right? Or that state of being. They would tell you if the action is in abstract and no one is actually doing that and it's just the idea of it, or who is doing the action, if it's one person, if it's many people, if you're referring to the person that you're talking to, or if you're talking about another group of people. Also the time, obviously, they tell you if the action was in the past, in the present, if it's going to happen in the future. They also inform you about the mental state or the intention of sorts of the person that is talking, right? If it's something that they perceive as objective, or if it's their interpretation of the world, if it's their subjectivity, or if they're trying to give you an order, if they're giving you an order. So as you can see, verbs have a lot of information, and the classification of verb extremely broad and you know, it's very large as well in Spanish because verbs are just very complex. So here on screen you have 4 examples. Bailar. So you can see bailar, which means to dance. It's an infinitive. It's basically just an action that is in abstract. Okay, no one is doing the action there. Él es de México. So bailar, it's an action. It's dancing, correct? But then here I have he is from Mexico. Es, is the verb. And then it's actually expressing a state of being. Okay, cantando, singing. That's a gerundio. Nunca he visitado Rusia. He visitado, that's the verb. I have never visited Russia. So you can see here that the verb, it's actually 2 words, and it's what we call a compuesto, like 2 words into one, right? Like a composed verb. So as you can see, verbs are very flexible. They change a lot in Spanish. Okay, so now we move forward to adverbios. So what's an adverb? Okay, adverbs are kind of like adjectives in the sense that they provide you extra information, but it's never about a noun. It's only about another adverb or a verb or an adjective. And one of the ways to distinguish these ones against the adjective is that adverbs never change. They just don't change. They're fixed, right? So they provide you extra information about how something was done, when, in what fashion, okay? So here we have some examples. Es un proceso muy rápido. So it's a very quick process. So rápido is an adverb, and muy is also an adverb that in this case is modifying rápido. So it's giving you more information. Like it's a quick process, it's a very quick process, okay? María trabaja lejos. María works far away. Far away, lejos, in this case, is an adverb, okay? It's modifying trabaja, the verb. It's telling you more information about how far away or where María works. Tu padre es trabajador. So your dad is a hardworking man, okay? Trabajador is an adjective, but I can expand that. I can emphasize how hardworking he is by saying very, no? Muy. Muy is an adverb in this case. Tu padre es muy trabajador. Okay, we carry on to preposiciones, prepositions. So prepositions are very easy to identify because they're a set group of words in Spanish, and they don't change, and they link words between them. They do have a little bit of information about, they carry a little bit of information, but it's very little. They don't give you much information if you just use a preposition, right? It's like what I'm trying to say is it's the same thing in English. It's not the same thing when you say the word of, right? As if you say something else like, I don't know, Spain, like all the imaginary that comes to your brain when I say the word Spain in comparison with of. There is a little bit of information with the preposition of, but it's not much. So that's one of the characteristics about the prepositions, right? So here on screen we have examples. A, de, sobre. So you can see how they are linking words. Voy, I have the verb voy, and then Spain, right? So the preposition is going to link these two, and it's going to give me a direction. I'm going to Spain. Voy a España. La ciudad de las artes. De is linking city of arts, right? La ciudad de las artes. Está sobre la mesa. Sobre is also a preposition. now we have conjunciones. So conjunciones are similar to prepositions in the sense that they don't have a lot of information again, and they also link words. But besides linking words, what they do is they link sentences in between, right? And they add some explanation to the way these words or sentences are related, right? Is it going to be addition, for example? Or is it going to be a contrast of ideas or a consequence? That's what the conjunctions do, like the conjunciones do in Spanish. So we have, for example, María, Juan. I want to say these two people are together. I'm going to use a conjunción y. María y Juan. Then I have another example. Es de Canadá, pero habla español. So I'm saying he or she is from Canada. So I'm assuming that this person speaks English or French. But I'm going to say he or she speaks Spanish. So the conjunction here is giving you an opposition. Okay, so you might think that this person doesn't speak Spanish because he or she is from Canada, but she does speak Spanish. Okay, the last one, interjecciones. So interjections are expressions of, they're like sounds. They're in a way sounds that we make to express how we feel or to get someone's attention. We have these ones in English as well, of course, like hey, hooray, or like hey, that sort of thing. That's an interjection, okay? That you're trying to get someone's attention or you're expressing how you're feeling. So here we have some examples in Spanish. Yupi, which means like yay, you're excited, right? Ay, when you're in pain. Ouch. That's what it means. Ay means ouch. If you're disgusted by something, you can say puaj, ugh, right? That's what it means. And then if you forgot something, you can say uy. Okay, so that's the sound of regret. So those are all the classifications that we have of categorías gramaticales in Spanish. Bien, amigos, es el final de la clase. Muchas gracias por ver este video. It's the end of our lesson. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in our next class. Adiós.
Hola, mi nombre es Brenda Romaniello. Hello, my name is Brenda Romaniello and I'm your Spanish teacher. Today we're going to have a look at the top 10 adjectives that we can use to describe people in Spanish. So we're going to start with some vocabulary. We're going to learn a few adjectives that we can use to describe people. Yes, so let's have a look at these adjectives right now. So the first one is joven. 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 As you can see, the first letter is a strong H. In Spanish, we use it we pronounce it with a strong H. Joven. Joven. And joven means young, and we use it for both masculino and femenino. So for masculine and feminine. So that means that we can use it to describe men and women. Yeah? So if you're describing a man, we would say joven, and if you're describing a woman, we will say also joven in this case. Viejo, viejo, viejo. That is to say old in Spanish, and this is to describe a man, viejo. And the feminine form of this adjective is vieja. Vieja. So this is to say old, and this is to describe a woman. Vieja. Viejo, vieja. As you can see, we changed the O for a, and we have to match. Yes, this is something that we need to pay attention to and change viejo if we are describing a man, or use vieja if we are describing a woman. The next one is bajo. Bajo, bajo, short, or if it is the femenino form, baja, baja. baja. Muy bien, very good. Alto, the opposite. Alto, alto. And then the femenino form, alta, alta. So I want you to start paying attention here and to start using these words as opposite. Yes, so joven, the opposite is viejo. So you're either joven, young, or viejo, old. And then you are either bajo or baja, in the case if I am describing myself because I'm a woman, and the opposite is going to be alto and alta, tall. The next one, delgado, 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 or the femenino form, delgada, delgada, delgada. Delgado or delgada means thin, yes? And this is to describe delgado, a man, and delgada, a woman. Let's see what is the opposite of delgado. What is the opposite of thin? We're going to say fat. Muy bien. En español decimos, we say gordo, 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 and the femenino, gorda, gorda, gorda. Okay, muy bien, very good. Let's go with the next one. Feo, feo is the masculino form. Feo, okay, it's not feo, so that e, we have to pronounce it as e. Feo, feo. And the femenino form is going to be fea, fea. That means ugly in Spanish. What is the opposite of ugly? It's going to be beautiful. But we have a few words to describe and to say beautiful in Spanish. To me, they all mean beautiful, but we have slightly different meanings. There are different words that we can use, different adjectives that we can use to describe and say beautiful. Yes, so for example, we can start with pretty, pretty or handsome. Yes, bonito, bonito. Bonito is the masculino, and then to say pretty, yes, so that would be handsome, yes, and bonita is the femenino form, bonita, bonita. Muy bien. We can also say cute, for example, but it also means beautiful, cute or beautiful. The masculino form is lindo, lindo, and the femenino form, linda, linda, linda. And the last one, these are all synonyms, as you can see. They all mean beautiful, pretty or handsome, cute or beautiful, and good looking. Yes, good looking. Guapo, masculino. Guapo, guapo, guapo. And the femenino, guapa, guapa, guapa. Muy bien. So these are going to be opposites. Remember, ugly, feo, fea, and beautiful, we have bonito, bonita, lindo, linda, guapo, guapa. Excellent. There's some things to point out. Of course, if we have, for example, if you take into account like bajo, yes, or gordo, these could be words that are somewhat offensive in a way if we are describing or if we want to mention the physical characteristic of a person, yes, to call someone short or fat, right? So, for example, it's common in certain Latin American countries like Mexico to change bajo and say bajito, bajito. Let me write it here for you, bajito. I'm gonna put it here. Bajito, see? Or to call someone bajita. Or instead of gordo, we can call them gordito or gordita. So we're adding this ito, yes? So we're replacing the o for ito, or la a for ito, or ita, in this case, ita. So we're going to say bajita or gordita. And that is to soften this description, yes, to be less offensive. Whenever you use it in this diminutive form, bajito or gordito, it's more sweet, it's softened, and therefore you're not being offensive in these cases. Something important to point out is bonito. I know that bonito also ends in that ito or ita that we were talking about for bajito and gordito, but this is not a diminutive form. It's basically the word, the adjective in its purest form. I mean, it's just the adjective. That's how we say it. That's how we write it, bonito, and it means cute or beautiful in this case. Let's have a look how we can use these adjectives in a sentence, yes? So let's say, for example, we put it into context in a conversation. Let's say that two friends are at a stadium, yes? And one person can say, ese es mi hermano. Ese es mi hermano. That is my brother. Ese es mi hermano. And the other person may say, ah, es alto. Ah, es alto. Oh, he's tall. Oh, he's tall. Alto. ¿Puedes ver aquí? Puedes ver que estamos usando el adjetivo, ¿sí? And as you can see here, we're talking about the brother, ¿no? El hermano. So, mi hermano. That's why we're saying my brother here, and of course, brother is masculino. Yes, it's a man. So in that case, we have to say alto. Alto. Él es alto. Ah, es alto. Let's have a look at some other examples. Ella es delgada. Ella es delgada. She's thin or she's slim. Él es joven. Él es joven. He's young. He's young. So, as you can see here, joven is the adjective and we're describing él, so masculino. Remember that joven is also the same word for femenino, so if you're describing a woman, you can also say ella es joven. Yes, she is young. Ella es joven. And ella es delgada, she is thin. We're going to say delgada, because it's femenino. We're describing she. Yeah, we're describing her. She. But if we want to describe él as a man, we would have to say él es delgado. Él es delgado. Él es alto. Yeah, so es alto. Muy bien, so let's have a look at the pattern that we have here in both examples and also in the dialogue that we had a look into before. So the pattern is él, he, es, is, right, he is, plus the adjective. Él es joven. The adjective is joven. Or look at this one. Ella es plus adjective. She is, no? Ella es delgada. Delgada is the adjective. Can you see that we have él and ella here in between brackets? And that is because this is optional. Have a look at this. In the dialogue, we said, es alto. And we translated it as, he is tall. He is tall, we say that is es alto. And in this example, we say, él es joven. He is young. These personal pronouns, yes, in Spanish, they are optional because they are already mentioned in the verb, yes? And context will help us determine if we're talking about he or she. If we have a look at the dialogue example here, as you can see, when we're describing alto as tall, we're talking about my brother. Yeah? Ese es mi hermano, my brother. So here we have the referent. We know that it's a he. So when we say es alto, we are saying he is tall because we're talking about the brother, el hermano. In these examples, es delgada, it would mean that we're talking about a woman, yes? Because how do we know? Because we are saying the adjective delgada, which is thin, but the femenino form, the form for a woman, yes? When we want to describe a woman. So that's why we would know that we're talking about a woman here. Es delgada, yes? She is thin. Or we can mention it and say, ella es delgada. In the case of él es joven, if we only say es joven, remember that joven we have is a femenino and masculino adjective, so el adjetivo es masculino y femenino. We use it for both to describe men and women. We would need a little bit more context here. So if we say él es joven, we're giving that information because we don't have context here. Okay, so that's why we have it in between brackets, because sometimes in certain contexts we will know who the person is. Are we talking about él or are we talking about ella? Yes, are we talking about he or are we talking about she? And in English is pretty much what we said. Él es plus adjective, his plus adjective. Ella es plus adjective, she's plus adjective. Okay, so now let's do some practice and revision. Do you remember how to say tall in Spanish? Alto. Alto. Do you remember how to say he in Spanish? Él. Él. Do you remember how to say he is tall in Spanish? Él es alto. Él es alto. Do you remember how to say, oh, he's tall? Ah, es alto. Ah, es alto. Do you remember how to say young? Joven. Joven. And how do you say old? Viejo. Viejo. How do you say thin? Delgado. Delgado. And the opposite, how do you say fat? Gordo. Gordo. How do you say ugly in Spanish? Feo. Feo. How do you say pretty in Spanish? Bonito. Bonito. How do you say cute? Lindo. Lindo. And how do you say good looking? Guapo. Guapo. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you very much for watching today's lesson, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and that you now know the top 10 adjectives to describe people in Spanish. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next class. Adios! Hola! Hello! My name is Brenda Romaniello and I'm your Spanish teacher for today. In today's lesson, we are going to learn the top verbs in Spanish for daily life. We'll have a look at some vocabulary, then we'll have a look at a dialogue, some examples, and then we'll have a look at also the patterns of how we use these verbs in Spanish. Let's start with el vocabulario, the vocabulary. Please repeat after me. Let's start with comer. 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 Beber. 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 Ver. 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 Something that I really want you to notice here is that beber and ver, one is written with a B and another one is written with a V, but in Spanish, in terms of pronunciation, we don't distinguish between B and V. It's always a soft B. Beber, ver. Muy bien, continuamos. Let's continue. Escuchar. 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 Ir. 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 Comprar. Comprar. comprar, jugar, jugar, jugar. Let's have a look at jugar here. So the first J that you can see there, it's pronounced like a H in English, but a stronger H, especially if you are in Spain. In Spain, it's even stronger than what I'm saying it. I'm originally from Argentina, so my J is pretty, I would say, considered normal, not soft, not strong or hard. I say jugar, jugar, but in Spain, they say it stronger yet, something like jugar, jugar. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Continuamos. Decir, 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 decir. Muy bien, very good. And remember, even though we have a DE here, we don't say decir, decir, decir. Leer, leer, leer. Here, you can see we have two E's. The first thing that I want you to notice here is that we're not going to change whenever we have two E's next to each other in a word in Spanish. We're not going to change it to leer, no, right? Sometimes in English, we pronounce two E's as E, right? In Spanish, that's not going to be the case. We always pronounce E, as E. So in this case, we have two E's right here. Can you see that? Well, what we're going to do is extend the pronunciation of that E and make it sound a little bit longer because we have two E's to pronounce here in this verb. Leer. Can you see that? I'm saying le and then another er. Leer. Muy bien, very good. The next one, escribir. 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 And the last one, hablar. 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 Something important to notice about hablar is that it starts with a H, but the H in Spanish is silent. We don't pronounce it. So for this verb, I want you to pretend that the H is not there. Pretend the H is not there and we simply say hablar. It's not pronounced hablar. Okay, so pretend it's not there, the H, simply say hablar. Okay, so we have learned this vocabulary. We now know how to pronounce these verbs. So let's have a look what they mean. Let's have a look. So, and repeat after me so we practice pronunciation again. So we have comer, it means to eat. Beber, it means drink. Ver, it means both. To see, yes, see, and watch as well. Escuchar, listen. Ir, go. Comprar, it means buy. Jugar, play. Decir, say. Leer, read. Escribir, write. Hablar, talk. Muy bien. Let's move on now to a dialogue. Well, we're going to put these verbs into practice talking in a conversation. Let's have a look at the question that we have here. ¿Qué haces? ¿Qué haces? ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? ¿Qué haces? Escucho música. Música. Escucho música. I'm listening to music. ¿Qué haces? Escucho música. Vamos a ver algunos ejemplos. Let's now look at some examples. Leo un libro. Leo un libro. Leo un libro. I'm reading a book. Juego videojuegos. Juego videojuegos. Juego videojuegos. I'm playing video games. So these are a few examples of activities that you can do with the verbs that we have learned previously, and they all work answering this question that we had a look into in the dialogue section. ¿Qué haces? Escucho música. I'm listening to music. ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? Leo un libro. I'm reading a book. ¿Qué haces? Juego videojuegos. I'm playing video games. I have a question for you now. Did you notice that in all these examples, escucho, leo, juego, the verb has changed from jugar, leer, and escuchar? Can you see that they are different? They look different and they all end in o? Okay, that is because in this case, in the case of the verbs in the vocabulary section, these verbs are not what we call conjugated. That means there is no subject or person performing an action. So these verbs are not, no one is performing these actions. These are just vocabulary for verbs, just simply a list of verbs. So in Spanish, we're going to have three different categories of verbs. We have verbs that end in ar, for example, por ejemplo, escuchar, hablar, jugar. Can you see all these verbs are an example of this first category of verbs? Then the second category of verbs are verbs that end in ir. Yes, por ejemplo, for example, beber, comer, leer. All these verbs are an example of this second category of infinitive verbs. And then the third category of infinitive verbs in Spanish are the verbs ending in ir. Yes, ir. Por ejemplo, ir, decir. As you can see, all these verbs are an example of this third category of verbs. When we say category of verbs, we're talking about verbs without conjugation in what we call the infinitive form, just the verb. And in English, the translation, when we talk about infinitive verbs, they will be when we say the verb with the to plus the infinitive. Yes, for example, to read, to talk, to write, etc., to listen, etc. So, going back to our examples, as you can see, when we note that the verbs end in o, that is because in these cases, we have a person performing the action, a subject, which is in this case, yo, yes, I, yo. In this case is I who is performing this action. So whenever we have I, yo, en español, in Spanish, you'll notice that the verb changes to that O there. Now let's talk about the pattern that we have for these structures using these verbs in Spanish. As you can see, the pattern is the verb in the first person, which is yo, yes, which means I, yo. And this case, leo, okay, leo, yo leo. And I put it in between brackets here because it's going to be optional to say I in Spanish. As we already have the person in the verb, in Spanish, repeating the person performing the action is ambiguous. But that's another lesson. You don't have to worry about that now. Just know that the pattern for these examples is the verb in the first person, yes, and then an object. So let's have a look at that. Escucho música. I'm listening to music. Leo un libro. So the first person, the verb in the first person is leo, and then the object is un libro, a book, yes? So in English, we would say I'm plus the verb and the object. Leo un libro is I'm reading a book. Vamos a practicar. Let's practice. Do you remember how to say listen? Listen. Escuchar. Escuchar. Do you remember how to say music in Spanish? Música. Música. Do you remember how to say I'm listening to music in Spanish? Escucho música. Escucho música. Do you remember how to say eat in Spanish? Comer. Comer. Do you remember how to say drink in Spanish? To drink. Beber. Beber. Do you remember how to say watch in Spanish or to see? Ver. Ver. Do you remember how to say go in Spanish? Ir. Ir. Do you remember how to say buy in Spanish? To buy. Comprar. Comprar. How do you say play in Spanish? Play. Jugar. Jugar. How do you say read in Spanish? Leer. Leer. How do you say write in Spanish? Escribir. Escribir. How do you say talk in Spanish? Hablar. Hablar. That is all for today. Thank you very much for watching the top verbs to use in daily life in Spanish. I really hope you enjoyed today's lesson and I will see you on the next one. Adiós! Hola, soy Brenda Romaniello, tu profesora de español. Hello and welcome to your Spanish class. My name is Brenda Romaniello and today we are going to learn how to do comparisons in Spanish, specifically describing where you are from. So we are going to start with the pattern, the structure that we're going to use for comparisons in Spanish. One thing that we need to pay attention to is that we're going to have some adjectives, yes, but it's very important to note that in Spanish, we don't have different comparison degrees in the adjectives. In Spanish, we're going to use es más, is more, and then the adjective. Yes, so we'll have a look at some examples to show you exactly what this means. So let's go over the pattern on how to do comparisons in Spanish. We are going to have, for example, when we're describing where you are from, or if we are describing people, cities, etc. Let's say that we are going to compare today some places. Let's say that we are describing a city or a place. We're going to have the place that we want to compare. Es más, so literally this means is more. Then we're going to have an adjective, which is going to describe this place, being more as something specific. Yes, so this will be the description where we're describing. That's what an adjective does. And then que, we're going to have que. In this case, que means than. Then the other place that we are comparing, okay? So we're gonna have place es más adjective que the other place, all right? So this would be, in English, we would say place is the comparative adjective than the other place. Let's have a look at some examples where we can see this pattern, this structure. Let's compare here two different cities in Mexico. We have Puebla and Tijuana, okay? And in the second example, we have Veracruz and Guanajuato. Vamos a ver, let's compare first Puebla with Tijuana. We can say that Puebla es más poblada que Tijuana. Puebla es más poblada que Tijuana. Poblada significa crowded. So this is the adjective that we're using in this particular comparison, and it means crowded. Poblada. Poblada. Okay, so Puebla es más poblada que Tijuana significa Puebla is more crowded than Tijuana. I want you to pay attention to this very important thing. As you can see here, es más significa is more. So in this case, the comparative adjective in English is just very similar to the Spanish way, yes, because crowded in this case doesn't have a comparative adjective form. But let's have a look at the following example. Veracruz es más grande que Guanajuato. Es más grande que Guanajuato. Okay, en este caso, in this case, we're saying Veracruz is bigger than Guanajuato. Can you see here? Más grande means more big, literally, right? But in English, we're going to say bigger. And this is what I mean when I say a comparative adjective. Bigger, in English, we don't need to say more, but in Spanish, we always say more adjective than. Okay? Perfecto. So those are a few examples of this structure that we are going to use to compare, yes, to make basic comparisons describing where you're from, so describing places in this instance. Okay, now let's go over a dialogue. Let's say that we have two friends talking about where they're from or the cities where they're from. Por ejemplo, ¿Querétaro es pequeña? ¿Querétaro es pequeña? Pues Querétaro es más pequeña que la Ciudad de México. Pues Querétaro es más pequeña que la Ciudad de México. As you can see here, pequeña significa small, yes? Is Querétaro small? Pequeña. And we say, pues, Querétaro es más pequeña que la Ciudad de México. Yes? Well, Querétaro is smaller than Mexico City. Aquí estamos usando la comparación. So here we are using the pattern, the structure for comparisons, and we're comparing Querétaro to Mexico City. Something important to point out here is that two things I want to point out about what we have in this dialogue. Number one is that, as you can see, we're using pequeña. We'll have a look at this adjective in a minute, but it's in the femenino form. And that is because in Spanish, la ciudad or ciudades, yes, so the city or cities are going to be femenino in Spanish. They're going to be feminine, okay? So we need to put it in the femenino form, these adjectives, all right? The second thing that I want to point out is, how do you say Mexico City in Spanish? Have you noticed? We say la Ciudad de México. La Ciudad de México. And this is very important. We have an article here, yes, a definite article, la Ciudad de México. And in English, we say Mexico City. So it would be like saying, literally, the translation would be the city of Mexico. Yes, the city of Mexico. That's exactly what that means. And most cities don't have an article, yes, we don't use a definite article before cities. Like look at Querétaro doesn't have an article, Veracruz, like we had it here, doesn't, Puebla doesn't have it, Tijuana, Guanajuato, we don't use a definite article before these cities, but we do for Mexico City in Spanish. So Mexico City, we say la Ciudad de México. Perfecto. Now let's move on to some vocabulary. So remember, for comparisons in Spanish, we're going to use and we're going to compare, in this case, places or cities using some adjectives. So let's have a look at some adjectives that we can use to describe places or cities in Spanish. We have frío, frío. Frío would be the masculino form, yes, so this will be the masculino form if we're describing something masculine, yes, frío, and fría would be the femenino form, frío, fría, frío, fría. Muy bien, that means cold. The next one is lluvioso, lluvioso. Rainy, right? Lluvioso. Lluvioso is masculino. If we are describing a city, like in this case, we have to say lluviosa. Lluviosa. Rainy. Let's see. How do you say old or ancient in Spanish? Yes, old, ancient for a city. Antiguo. Antiguo. That's the masculino form, antiguo. And the femenino form is antigua. Antigua. The next one, poblado. Yes, we had a look at this one when we were doing the first example. Poblado is the masculino form and it means crowded. Poblado. Poblado. Poblada. Poblada. Muy bien. And the last two that we have in the list for today is pequeño. Pequeño. So pequeño is going to be the masculino form and pequeña, pequeña is the femenino form. And that means small. Like we were doing it and we were saying it, we were using it with the example in the dialogue, no? Querétaro es pequeña. And the last one is grande. Grande. Grande means big and we use it for both. So this adjective is neutral. We use it for masculino and femenino descriptions. So in this case, it's always grande. Grande. All right, let's repeat then. Repeat after me the vocabulary so that we practice pronunciation. Frío. Frío. Fría. Fría. Lluvioso. Lluvioso. Lluviosa. Lluviosa. Antiguo. Antiguo. Antigua. Antigua. Poblado. Poblado. Poblada. Poblada. Pequeño. Pequeño. Pequeña. Pequeña. Grande. Grande. Muy bien. Muy buen trabajo. Very good job. Now let's review and practice. Do you remember how to say small in Spanish? Pequeño. Pequeño. Do you remember how to say Mexico City in Spanish? La Ciudad de México. La Ciudad de México. And how do you say Querétaro in Spanish? Querétaro. Querétaro. Do you remember how to say Querétaro is smaller than Mexico City? Querétaro es más pequeña que la Ciudad de México. Querétaro es más pequeña que la Ciudad de México. How do you say cold in Spanish? Fría. Fría. And how do you say rainy in Spanish? Lluviosa. Lluviosa. How do you say old in Spanish for a city, to describe a city? Antigua. Antigua. How do you say crowded in Spanish? Poblada. Poblada. And how do you say big in Spanish? Grande. Grande. Muy bien. Very well then, that is all for today. That is our Spanish lesson, how to compare different places and cities, describing where you're from. I really hope that you enjoyed today's lesson. Thank you very much for watching and I will see you next class. Adios!
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia. Welcome to Conversational Phrases. In this lesson, you'll learn conversational phrases to comment on a joke. After watching this video, you'll be able to compliment or criticize anyone on their sense of humor. Now let's take a look at some conversational phrases.
Listen to the dialogue. ¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Ja, ja, eres tan gracioso.
Once more with the English translation.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Why is the math book sad? Because it has so many problems.
Ja, ja, eres tan gracioso.
Haha, you're so funny. First of all, let's listen to the joke again. Why is the math book sad? Because it has so many problems. That's
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
listen to it again.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas. ¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Now, how do you react to a joke? First, you'll need to learn how to say ha ha. That's
Ja, ja. Ja, ja.
then you'll need to learn how to say you're so adjective. The pattern is
Eres tan...
adjective. For example, you're so funny.
Eres tan gracioso. Eres tan gracioso.
Here are a few more words you can use with the same pattern. Funny,
Gracioso. Gracioso. Graciosa. Graciosa.
funny,
Gracioso. Graciosa.
humorous,
Cómico. Cómico. Cómica. Cómica.
humorous,
Cómico. Cómica.
boring,
Aburrido. Aburrido. Aburrida. Aburrida.
boring,
Aburrido. Aburrida.
strange,
Extraño. Extraño. Extraña. Extraña.
strange,
Extraño. Extraña.
Let's look at some examples. Listen and repeat or speak along with the native speakers.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Eres tan cómico.
Why is the math book sad? Because it has so many problems.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
You're so humorous.
Eres tan cómico.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Eres tan aburrido.
Why is the math book sad? Because it has so many problems.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
You're so boring.
Eres tan aburrido.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Eres tan extraño.
Why is the math book sad? Because it has so many problems.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
You're so strange.
Eres tan extraño.
Okay, now it's your turn. do you remember what the joke was?
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Imagine you think it was humorous. Do you remember how to say humorous?
Cómico. Cómico.
Say, you're so humorous.
Eres tan cómico.
Now react to the joke, saying it was humorous.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Eres tan cómico.
Now imagine you think it was boring. Do you remember how to say boring?
Aburrido. Aburrido.
Say, you're so boring.
Eres tan aburrido.
Now react to the joke, saying the other person is boring.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Eres tan aburrido.
Now imagine you think it was strange. Do you remember how to say strange?
Extraño. Extraño.
Say, you're so strange.
Eres tan extraño.
Now react to the joke, saying the other person is strange.
¿Por qué está triste el libro de matemáticas? Porque tiene muchos problemas.
Eres tan extraño.
Hi everyone, I'm Rosa. How are your Spanish listening skills? In this video, you'll have a chance to test them out with a quiz. First, you'll see an image and hear the question in Spanish. Next comes a short dialogue. Listen carefully and see if you can answer correctly. We'll show you the answer at the end. Are you ready?
Un hombre y una mujer están hablando. ¿Por qué llegó tarde el hombre?
Siento llegar tarde.
¿Te quedaste dormido otra vez?
No, hoy me levanté a las 6.
Entonces, ¿por qué llegaste tarde otra vez?
Bueno, el autobús no venía.
Ah, ¿en serio?
Para serte sincero, el autobús llegó un poco tarde, pero me equivoqué y me bajé en la parada incorrecta. Tuve que venirme caminando hasta acá.
¿Por qué llegó tarde el hombre? Un hombre y una mujer están hablando. ¿Por qué llegó tarde el hombre?
Siento llegar tarde.
¿Te quedaste dormido otra vez?
No, hoy me levanté a las 6.
Entonces, ¿por qué llegaste tarde otra vez?
Bueno, el autobús no venía.
Ah, ¿en serio?
Para serte sincero, el autobús llegó un poco tarde, pero me equivoqué y me bajé en la parada incorrecta. Tuve que venirme caminando hasta acá.
Hola, soy Brenda Romaniello, soy tu profesora de español. Today we're going to have a look at the difference between tambien and tampoco in Spanish. These two adverbs create a little bit of confusion amongst Spanish students because maybe in their original language, native language, they use it differently, or maybe because of the word order or where to put it in a sentence could be a little bit different, and therefore today we're gonna see how we use it in Spanish correctly. Let's start with when we use también. So también, we use this adverb when we want to establish that we agree with what someone else is saying or that we share exactly the same idea, information, etc. We want to say that we agree or we have a similarity with that with this person, whatever they are saying, but it has to be an affirmative statement. So let's have a look at some examples of when to use también in Spanish. Tengo hambre. Yo también. Vamos a comer algo juntas. As you can see here, Maria is saying I'm hungry and Laura is also hungry, so she will say yo también, me too, and then can suggest something like let's go grab something to eat together. In the case of tampoco, we're going to use it in a similar way, but for a negative statement. So if we want to agree or express that we are sharing something similar with the speaker, but in a negative statement, in that case, we're going to say tampoco. Let's have a look at some examples. Yo no tengo hijos. Yo tampoco. As you can see here, Maria is saying she doesn't have any children and Laura doesn't have children either, so she will say yo tampoco, neither do I. You can simply answer with yo tampoco, or you can repeat the rest of the sentence in order to emphasize your agreement by saying yo tampoco tengo hijos. Something that you need to pay attention to is when you want to use the adverb of negation no and tampoco in the same sentence, because it is allowed. You can use these two adverbs in a sentence in Spanish, but sometimes some students get confused on the word order or how to use them. So let's have a look at some examples of when you can use no and tampoco in a sentence in Spanish, but in the correct form. Yo tampoco no fumo is incorrect, because I know that we have to negate a verb in Spanish by putting no before the verb. No fumo, I don't smoke, but it's incorrect to say yo tampoco no fumo. We don't need to use the no before the verb in this case if we want to use tampoco, because already tampoco is a negative statement. We're saying that I don't smoke either in Spanish with tampoco. So the correct form is to say yo tampoco fumo, I don't smoke either. Let's have a look at another instance when we can use no and tampoco in the same sentence. No come carne, pero tampoco come pescado. No come carne, ni tampoco come pescado. So here pero and ni are both options, and we're saying he doesn't eat meat, nor or neither does he eat pescado. And it would be the same as saying no come carne, no come pescado. Now let's talk about a mí también and a mí tampoco, and we use these structures and it gets a little bit more confusing with the verb gustar when we want to talk about what we like or we don't like in Spanish and someone else wants to agree or disagree, wants to agree with us and say, oh, me neither or me too. So because we have a different structure with gustar and I say a mí me gusta, we cannot say yo también if you want to say that you agree with me and you also like what I'm saying I'm liking. You have to say a mí también, I like it too. The same with tampoco. If I say no me gusta el chocolate, I don't like chocolate, you want to say that you don't like it either, you cannot say yo tampoco. Here you have to say a mí tampoco, I don't like it either. Let's have a look at some examples. A mí me gusta la cerveza, a mí también. I like beer, so do I, or me too. You can't say yo también here, remember that. And the same for the negative with tampoco. No me gusta comer verduras, a mí tampoco. I don't like eating vegetables, neither do I. You cannot say yo tampoco here. As I was saying before, remember that we are going to use these adverbs when we want to agree whether with someone, whether they are saying something in an affirmative statement or a negative one. But what happens if you want to disagree? If someone says that they like chocolate but you don't, or if they do something and you don't, or if they don't do something but you do. We cannot use yo también, yo tampoco, a mí también, and a mí tampoco in these instances. What you can say is yo sí, o a mí sí, or you can say yo no, o a mí no. Let's have a look at some examples. Me gusta el chocolate. A mí no. So as you can see here, Sarah is saying that she likes chocolate, but Alejandro doesn't. So he will say a mí no. It doesn't appeal to me. And Ana says yo no estudio medicina. So she's not studying medicine, but Clara is. So she can use yo también or yo tampoco here. She has to say yo sí, I am, or I do. Muy bien. Esa es la diferencia entre también y tampoco. That's the difference between también and tampoco. I really hope that you enjoyed today's lesson, and I will see you next class. Adiós, hasta luego.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Monthly Review, the monthly show on language learning, where you discover new learning strategies, motivational tips, study tools, and resources. By the way, all the lessons and bonuses you're about to see can be downloaded for free on our website. So click the link in the description right now to sign up for your free lifetime account. Okay, today's topic is how tipping points will bring you closer to your language goals. If you've been learning a language for some time, you know that real progress takes time, that you won't see instant results in the next 5 minutes. And this can be discouraging for many learners. But don't worry, there are secret signs of success that you're on the right track and that you're going to make it. And they're called tipping points. You may not notice them immediately, but you'll always notice them in hindsight. So today you'll discover what tipping points are, how to know that you're on the right track with your language learning, how to reach tipping points, and much more. But first, if you're looking for new free language resources and downloads, here are this month's new lessons and resources. Be sure to download these now before we take them down in a few days. First, the Buying Electronics Conversation Cheat Sheet. With this new cheat sheet, you'll learn how to talk about electronics and what phrases to use at the store. Download it for free right now. Second, our printable visual flashcards. Want to speak more of the language? You'll need to learn more words. And with our new printable visual flashcards, you'll know over 1,500 words. Just download and print them out. Third, 30 must-know legal vocabulary. Learn how to say court, law, illegal, and much more with this quick 1-minute lesson. Fourth, how to talk about feeling excited. If you want to talk about your feelings, then this next lesson will teach you 13 words for excitement in just a few minutes. And fifth, must-know Mother's Day vocabulary. Can you say Mother's Day in your target language? You'll be able to with this quick 1-minute vocabulary lesson. To get your free resources, click the link in the description below right now. They're yours to keep forever. Okay, let's jump into today's topic. How tipping points will bring you closer to your language goals. Part 1. Why tipping points are crucial for confidence in language learning. So, what's a tipping point? A tipping point is a point that you reach, or a small victory, and it gives you confidence that you're going to make it. It's a sign that you're on the right track. Here's a non-language example. Imagine a gym on a Friday night, and not at 5 p.m., I mean at 10 p.m. What does it look like to you? It probably looks empty to me, like a library on a Friday night. But if you've ever been to a gym on a Friday night, there's a very interesting group of people. The most fit people you'll ever see are there. Why is this a big deal? Well, of all the things you could be doing on a Friday night, if you naturally decide to work on your fitness or any goal that you have, then that's a good sign. So what about language learning? It works the same way with languages. If you find yourself learning and practicing a language on a Friday night instead of watching Netflix, if you're taking language lessons with our innovative language learning app instead of playing a game on your smartphone, if you're watching our video lessons instead of watching random YouTube videos, then you've reached a tipping point. These are all examples of tipping points. It's when you, your actions, and your free time shift away from usual routines, like watching TV, towards the goals you really want, like mastering a language. That's a tipping point, and it's crucial for your confidence and overall language learning. It's evidence that you're on the right track, and you're going to make it. And you might wonder, how is it evidence if I don't see any progress just yet? It does take a bit of time to make progress with language, but the answer is simple. Language learning is a lot like anything else you do in life. It comes down to where you put in your time. It's like Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000-hour rule. You need time. Languages don't need 10,000 hours per se, but the principle is the same. If someone spends an hour every day on language and has done that for the past 2 years, that's a lot of time. So you can guarantee that this person is speaking the language with no problems, simply because of the time they put in. So, what about you? How can you know if you're on the right track in reaching these tipping points? Let's get into the second part. Part 2. How you can tell when you're reaching a tipping point. Picture it like this. You're learning a language in your free time. You have a small goal set. Now, within your daily routines, you start making certain choices. Between watching TV and mastering a language, you start putting more time into language. Exactly. Last week, you started with 10 minutes of learning and 50 minutes of TV. Then it grows. You spend 20 minutes on language, 40 on TV, and then 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And soon it overtakes your typical routines. That's exactly how tipping points happen. So take a look at how much time you spend on a language and take a look at your recent choices of activities. If you're learning a language with your smartphone instead of playing a mobile game, if you're spending more time watching language videos instead of regular YouTube videos, and if you're learning on a Friday night as a personal choice, that's how you know you've reached a tipping point. Tipping points are something you won't notice immediately, but you will realize in hindsight. But the point is, when you find yourself choosing language over something else, that's a sign that you're going to make it. And if you want to actively reach these tipping points, then it's just a matter of putting in more time. Again, if you started with 10 minutes a day last week, bring yourself up to 11 or 12 minutes a day this week. Simply adjust your routine and add more time. For example, we often recommend you to set small, measurable goals with a deadline every month. So if you are, aim a little higher with your next goal. Add an extra few minutes to your routines. Now, back to you. Now that you learned about tipping points, do you think you've reached any? Leave us a comment. So thank you for watching this episode of Monthly Review. Next time, we'll talk about your first steps to learning a language, the Fundamentals Welcome Pack. If you enjoyed these tips, hit the like button, share the video with anyone who's trying to learn a language, and subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week. And if you're ready to finally learn language the fast, fun, and easy way and start speaking from your very first lesson, get our complete learning program. Sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Click the link in the description. See you next time. Bye! You want to learn the language, but it's hard to find effective lessons that are made by real teachers and that actually build on top of each other, where you're learning new things and reviewing what you've already learned. Well, that's exactly how our audio and video lessons inside our learning program work. How to learn language fast with audio and video lessons. 4 tricks inside. In this guide, you'll discover 1. How to learn practical conversations in just minutes. 2. 4 tips that'll help you absorb the language and master lessons fast. And 3. How to get our brand new lessons for free. But first, if you don't yet have access to our learning program, click the link down in the description and sign up for your free lifetime account right now. First, so, what makes these language lessons so effective? Each lesson is around 3 to 15 minutes in length, making it super easy to breeze through and absorb the language. You're not reading walls of text, but listening to actual native speakers teach you a language. Just press play to start. First, you hear a practical conversation. Then you hear it again slowly with translations. Then, our teachers explain the vocabulary, grammar points, and cultural nuances. Finally, you hear the conversation one last time, and at this point, you understand a lot more than you did the first time you heard the lesson, which is exciting for a language learner, especially when you didn't understand anything before. And you can even start speaking if you repeat along. All of this takes just a few minutes. Then, mark the lesson as complete and move on to the next lesson in our learning pathway, where you'll learn even more and get to review some of the words and grammar points from prior lessons. 2. There are a few special tips and tricks you can do to master the lessons even faster. You can read along with our free lesson transcript so that you can pick apart every word that you hear. You can immerse yourself with the premium dialogue track that gives you just the conversation, with no translations. If you have a question, you can leave a comment on the lessons and our teachers will respond. And you can replay and review the lesson as much as you want, so you can learn at your own pace. So, how do you get access to the lessons? You get the lessons the moment you sign up for a free lifetime account and set your level. Based on your level, you'll get a learning pathway of lessons that's right for you. Just start there with Lesson 1. You can also access your next lesson on the dashboard. And you can learn on the go, for example, on a walk, on your way to work, or while waiting in line at the store with our free app. And as an extra bonus, you get our newest lessons for free. We release 3 to 4 new lessons a week, so you get new lessons every week non-stop. Find them inside the Lessons drop-down menu, in Newest Lessons, or inside the menu on the app. But first, if you don't yet have access to our learning program, click the link down in the description and sign up for your free lifetime account right now. Do you feel like you don't speak enough of your target language? That you need to know more words? Then stick around. With these lessons, you'll pick up some of the most common words in just a few minutes. Now, this video is a small portion of our learning program. To get the full lessons, translations, and Fluency Fast study tools, click the link in the description and sign up for your free lifetime account. Learning a language is tough because it's hard to remember every single thing that you learn. But what if you had a cheat sheet with the must-know words, phrases, and grammar rules, where you can glance through and review everything in a minute or two? If you do that enough times, then the language will become natural. How to learn a language 2 times faster with PDF cheat sheets. And in this guide, you'll discover 1. How to learn and retain hundreds of words and phrases with our cheat sheets, 2. How to unlock over 30 cheat sheets, and much more. But first, if you don't yet have access to our learning program, the lessons and special cheat sheets like this, click the link down in the description and sign up for your free lifetime account right now. First, what are these cheat sheets? With our learning program, you'll learn the language with bite-sized audio and video courses, and as a bonus, you get PDF cheat sheets to help you review the language. These cheat sheets cover must-know topics like weather, family, talking about hobbies, and much more. There are over 30 cheat sheets inside. Inside each cheat sheet, you get the words, phrases, and helpful sentence patterns related to the topic that you can quickly review whenever you have a minute or two. Now, how can you learn faster with these cheat sheets? Just download a cheat sheet, print it, keep it nearby, and glance through as much as possible. Eventually, you'll know all of the words and phrases in and out, simply because you've seen the words enough times. It's all about exposure to the language. The more you're exposed to the language, the better you'll remember it. And you can always save the PDFs to your device, but having physical cheat sheets makes it easy to pick one up and glance through. Otherwise, they'll sit somewhere on your phone or computer, along with the many other language learning apps you haven't been using. How can you get access to our PDF cheat sheets? Just click the link in the description and sign up for a free lifetime account to get our learning program and these bonus cheat sheets. Once you've signed up, come back to the special PDF lessons page by clicking the link in the description. Remember, here's what you can do to learn all of these words by heart. Drill these words with our spaced repetition flashcards, which will help cement these words into your long-term memory. Save them to the word bank, your personal vocabulary collection, where you can print out your own study sheets, or review the words with our looped vocabulary slideshow, and play it until you know all of the words. So click the link in the description right now and sign up for your free lifetime account to get these lessons and study tools. Great work! Here's a reward. Speed up your language learning with our PDF lessons. Get all of our best PDF cheat sheets and ebooks for free. Just click the link in the description.